Let's talk about how to make New Year's resolutions that work by adding emotional intelligence. There haven't been that many studies of New Year's resolutions and what makes them work. There's some data that says 92% of New Year's resolutions fail, mostly because people tend to set them in the wrong way. There's a new study that just came out of Sweden, and it's one of the first large-scale studies of New Year's resolutions. It's a fascinating study because not only did they look at different ways of setting New Year's resolutions, they also looked at different ways of supporting people. And there are two key findings that I want to share with you so you can make New Year's resolutions that are going to work. The first is they're resolutions that are about stopping something, and they're resolutions that are about starting something. The stopping resolutions, the moving away from, worked much less well, over 11% less effective than resolutions that are about starting or creating or building something new. Now, this has to do with how we motivate ourselves, and whether we're motivating ourselves from a deficit orientation and talking about what's wrong, or we're moving into a learning orientation and saying, I want to try something, I want to grow something. That learning orientation is much more motivating to the human brain. This compliance-oriented goal, I will not eat chocolate, versus this motivation-oriented goal, I will get healthier, is connected with a whole body of research about what's called intrinsic motivation. And we have a lot of articles about this, including one which is the 3 questions to ask yourself to help you understand motivation. The next thing that they found in this study had to do with the kind of support that people received as they worked on their goals. They had 3 groups. One group had no support, set a goal, see what happens. The second group had some support, where they were given information about setting good goals and they had a monthly check-in. And then the third group had extensive support. They had online training about how to set smart goals and build a structure around their goals and make them very measurable and have checkpoints along the way. The third group you might think would do the best, but actually it was the second group that did the best. And I think this has to do with an orientation that we have to making goals that are too narrow and too cognitive. When we get super analytical, which many of us do, we get caught up in this kind of rational, evaluative approach to our goal setting. And again, that pushes us into this deficit-oriented approach where we start looking more at what's wrong than what's right. When we get some support and we're thinking about our goals in an aspirational way, and we have allies supporting us in our goals, we begin to feel certain emotions that fuel us towards change. Sometimes people try to approach change through a facts, force, and fear paradigm. There's something wrong and I can tell you the right answer, and if you don't fix it, you're gonna be in trouble. That doesn't actually work for change. What works for change is a relationship that creates hope. And if you're right now thinking about setting New Year's resolutions, I want to encourage you to say, that's so optimistic. There's so much power and potential that you're recognizing that you can make things different, and you can. So please get a friend, get an ally, get a coach for just enough support so you feel like there's somebody walking with you. The last thing that I want to share is the idea of change as a linear process versus a cyclical process. A lot of times when people set New Year's resolutions, they end up in that 92% failure category because they set this resolution as if it's a do or die. I will not do this at all. And what we know about change is that successful change is a process of learning and growth. It's not about, I'm never going to do this. It's, I'm going to do it less. And I'm going to do something else more. I'm going to grow. I'm going to get better. And I encourage you to hold yourself in that orientation of a learning, growing person, of somebody who's going to fail. And in that failure, it's not the end of the process. That failure is a message. It's an opportunity to say, okay, well, I tried it that way. Now I'm going to try something else. This is the cyclical process of change. It fuels us to be in a place of curiosity and experimentation, and hope. And these are emotions that are going to fuel us to continue the process of learning and make our New Year's resolutions work. Now it's your turn. How are you going to use emotional intelligence for change?